We got some very interesting footage of a very close armored combat between two Bradley Infantry Fighting Vehicles and none other than the most modern tank in Russian service, the T-90M. Some of the first reports that came out claimed that Bradley destroyed the T-90M, but is that really the case? Let's take a look at the video. The T-90M is here. This here is the first Bradley. The second Bradley will come in later. First, we see the tank get hit by something. It is not clear what it is. It is possible that it is an FPV drone, but there were some claims it was an ATGM. But it was definitely not from the Bradleys, since neither of them had a clear sight on the tank when the explosion happened. Then we see the Bradley come up to the tank and engage it with an autocannon from a very close range, probably damaging some components on the vehicle. The Bradley disengages the tank and the tank starts driving away. After moving some distance, we see something explode, but it's neither the tank nor the Bradley, as the Bradley has moved away quite a bit and the tank, while being close, is not directly at the place the explosion takes place. But I don't think this is an explosion. I believe this is a smoke being popped by the T-90M. T-90M has IR smoke which burns when popped, in order to mask the tank's thermal signature, hence why we see this explosion-like effect and fire all around. But by the time the smoke clears, the second Bradley comes along and engages the tank with the autocannon fire. After quite a lot of hits, we see the second Bradley disengage the tank and start moving away. The drone then zooms onto the tank and we can see the turret spinning uncontrollably. The tank appears to be in the good enough condition to drive around, since we see the crew attempt to drive away, until they hit a tree. The first video we got cuts here, and we also got the aftermath picture of the said T-90M. We can tell it is the same tank by the camo net hanging off the makeshift cope cage. So at first, it was not easy to tell what exactly happened. Did the crew survive? And what exactly prompted the tank to get abandoned? Some people believed the gunner must have left this realm, considering that the turret was spinning uncontrollably. But to me that was a bit weird, because the commander could easily override the controls and stop the turret from rotating. And by the commander's hatch being open on the abandoned tank, it would mean that he survived. So why couldn't he just block the rotation if the gunner was KIA? But then we got the second part of the video, and we see the tank start moving backwards after hitting the tree. And then we see the FPV drone striking the tank, which then prompts the tank to get abandoned by the crew. And we see 3 guys get out of the tank, which means all 3 of them survived. So what most likely happened is that Bradley's autocannon damaged something related to the turret rotation, which prompted the turret to be stuck in the rotation. What is strange though is that after hitting the tree and the rotation being obviously stopped by the said tree, the turret stopped rotating uncontrollably, and in the aftermath we can see it actually positioned so the driver can get out. Maybe the crew realized what the issue was and managed to fix it. I don't know. Or perhaps the hit from the FPV drone jammed the turret. Now that would be quite funny. So what happened? Why didn't the T-90M engage the Bradleys? It is possible that the first hit before the Bradleys engaged the tank damaged something important. Gun, fire control system, anything. But it is also possible that the tank crew didn't see the Bradley at first, and the first burst from the Bradley damaged something. But it is impossible to know what exactly. It is also very hard to tell when exactly does the uncontrollable rotation of the turret begin, but judging by the fact that the smoke was popped in the direction which would mask the tank from the first Bradley, I would say something got damaged by the fire from the second Bradley. Now, the tank did protect the crew from all that fire, but that doesn't have to mean that no penetration occurred. The actual side armor of the tank should be immune to 25mm APDS fired from the Bradley, which is what Ukrainians are using as far as I know. That is, it is immune for the most part. Russian tanks have thinner side armor on the engine bay area. If I remember correctly, it's 70mm compared to 80mm for the rest of the side armor. On top of that, the engine bay does not have the ERA on the side like the rest of the hull, which in this case would act like spaced armor and add extra protection, since relic can't be triggered by autocannon fire, only damaged or ripped off, which seems to have happened to at least one side ERA panel. That being said, considering the fact that the tank was still mobile, if there was any penetration to the area around the engine, it did little to no damage, at least nothing critical. Now, aside from the engine, some spots around the turret ring might be penetrated by the APDS from the Bradley, which might be what happened. Since something happened to the turret rotation, it is possible that the mechanism was damaged by the autocannon. On top of all that, there are also more obvious things like the sights and the gun, which can easily get damaged by the 25mm APDS, which could have also happened. And of course, there is rear armor which is much thinner and can also be penetrated by 25mm APDS. All that being said, it is pretty clear that the T-90M wasn't really destroyed by Bradleys, but it was rather knocked out by the combined effort of the recon drone, Bradleys, and the FPV drones. Actually destroying any modern MBT with autocannons alone would be extremely hard, hence why that isn't what actually happened here. Either way, whether it was destroyed by Bradleys or not, it doesn't matter. The tank has been taken out, and the performance of all Ukrainian units has been pretty good. Finding the tank, damaging it extensively with Bradleys, and then finishing it off with an FPV drone was pretty intriguing to watch. The tank did manage to protect the crew from all of that, but I couldn't find any reliable information on what happened to them. Some say they got captured, some say they later got neutralized, some that they retreated, but no evidence for any of those, at least not yet. That being said, the tank crew hasn't performed all that well, and it wasn't just their fault, but the entire thing was problematic from the get-go. A lone tank sent inside a village is just asking for problems to happen. I've seen Russians claim there was another tank and an MTLB in the assault, but in the entire 8-minute video there isn't a single trace of either the second tank or the MTLB. The Bradleys pretty much circled the entire village from left to right and came under no fire, so it seems to me that this tank was indeed actually alone. Even the best crew would have a lot of problems with that. It was just a bad situation to be in. That would be all. If you like my content, you can support me on Patreon. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Have a nice day.